Hey, I'm your host, Melissa, and I want to welcome you to Not Your Average Blonde podcast. I'm here to show you how to elevate your life to become the best version of yourself. I want to take you along your journey to be anything but average and step into your confidence era. Join me each week by subscribing and listening to Not Your Average Blonde podcast, and let's begin our journey to become anything but average. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Blonde podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about how to build your confidence. And I was thinking on it today as I was driving into work. I was thinking back on aspects of my life and how far I've come. A big aspect that was on my mind was comparing myself to the woman I was, especially when I was in my 20s. To who I am today, a woman who is in her 30s. And it's pretty mind-blowing to think about just how different of a woman that I am today than who I was back then, especially in my early and my mid 20s. I won't talk about this more later on in the podcast, but my 20s sucked. They were pretty terrible, but my 30s have been pretty awesome. And the woman who I am today, I love her so much more, and I have a lot of grace for who I am now, and which has made my 30s pretty awesome. And I was thinking today on what were some of the big items that changed that, and some of the biggest game changers for me has been my mindset, and then learning how to build confidence in myself, and to cultivate a love for me to evolve into a woman who I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to go after it. And confidence is one of those topics that I feel we can talk for days about. And I know a lack of confidence is something that has affected so many people. I'd say most people at one age or another. Doesn't matter male or female. Now, from a female experience, I think that women, we become much more aware of our insecurities at a younger age than guys do. And then you add that with time and then the compounding nature of it and societal norms. Confidence can be very difficult to cultivate, especially if you don't have the right support system teaching you the critical skill sets of how to build that confidence. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get far if you allow your insecurities to dictate your life. And your insecurities stem from having a lack of confidence. It can manifest through excuses, which if you're not careful, excuses can become your shield for not doing something in or with your life. And another way that insecurities can show up is in what you tell yourself, such as negative self-talk. And at the end of the day, talk is cheap, but we all know that action is truly where the magic happens. And confidence is a byproduct of action. You have to take action first, and then the confidence will come after the action. And I've seen so many people who wait to do so many things with their life for when they have confidence. You'll hear excuses of I'll wear the bikini after I've lost 15 pounds. I'll go to that event when I feel less shy or more confident, or I feel better about how I look. I'll take that dream vacation when my friends are available for it, when I lose the weight. It tends to be excuse after excuse, and there's an endless amount of them. And don't get me wrong, I definitely have made my fair share of excuses, especially in my lifetime, to justify my insecurities and the lack of confidence when it comes to taking action. But at the end of the day, you have to take action. And if you stay within the attitude of making excuses and allowing your insecurities to dictate your life, you're going to miss out on people and opportunities that life and the universe presents to you. You have to take the action. Even if you don't feel confident, you have to trust that it will get better. Pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone only makes you become stronger and helps to grow that confidence. And like anything, like when you first try something, you're not going to be good at it. You may suck at it. You may even fail, and you could even like fail a couple of times. But each time like you get up or you get out and you keep trying it, you're going to start getting better at it. You're going to start feeling more comfortable, and you're going to start feeling like more confident. Now, going back to like reflecting on my life like a bit more now, like I've been single for quite a while, but I remember that back when I was after my divorce, one of the most daunting aspects of being single again was going out or traveling and being comfortable with like being alone, whether that was going solo to a cafe or a restaurant or going to the movies or even like traveling alone, and traveling like not just internationally, it could just be locally or going across like the country, any types of like travel. But I remember like my first couple of times, I started small. I started with, like I said, local stuff, such as like going to like a restaurant. I remember it being like pretty awkward. I was uncomfortable. I was in my head. I was thinking that other people were judging me or that I looked weird, like sitting there by myself, especially eating a meal. Or I was also like unsure of like, what do I do? Like when I'm at a restaurant alone, like, what do I do when I'm just like sitting there, like eating? Um, but you know what? Like I did learn that like the more that I did it, like the more that I got outside of my comfort zone and went to more restaurants or went to more places alone, places could be like going down to like the local art gallery, just some type of experience. The more comfortable I became with being in my own company, and I grew more confidence like with my alone time. It's kind of cool because like even today, like one of my favorite activities is to go to a local cafe. And I'll even do this when I'm abroad as well. But I always love to order like a cappuccino and sit down with a pen and a journal and just be. I love being like in the moment. I thoroughly enjoy like a cappuccino because it just brings me into the present. Like I enjoy the smell of it. I enjoy the taste. I listen to the sounds around me. I take in, like my surroundings, especially if it's in a well lit like cafe. I will do like a lot of like self-reflective activities during that experience. Like I'll allow my mind to wander and find inspiration like in that moment. I allow myself to be in the present and then to be grounded like both in my environment as well as in myself. And last year I took it a step further. I took a solo cruise, and I was a little nervous at first because it was kind of a long time to be either alone or, again, I had to change my mindset and open it up to, the opportunities that could potentially exist with that. And at the end of the day, like I had an absolute blast. It was the perfect blend of me time, but it also gave me the space to dictate like how much I wanted to socialize. So I was very constructive like with my days in terms of just focusing on like wellness. And so in the mornings, like I would get up and I'd signed up for like an earlier morning like yoga class. And yoga was like great because it's one of those activities where if you want to just like focus on you and being like in the moment, being present, there's no pressure to socialize with other people. I mean, and you don't have to if you don't want to. It's completely understanding if you just want to be there like for you. It's 100% you time. But then also too, like if you want to socialize, you can socialize as well. It's no pressure either way, which was an absolutely great activity. And funny enough, I ended up meeting this really cool, like older, like Swiss lady who was also on the cruise, and I met her at yoga. And I think it was like maybe like on the second or third day. I think it was the second day actually. Um, we kind of were like, oh, like, hey, like we introduced like ourselves. We had a lot in common actually, like professionally, which was really cool. And it turned into like a really cool like friendship where we both respected each other's like solo time. She was also solo on the cruise as well too. But then we were also did like some activities together. Like we had like one afternoon where we met up and we did like high tea together. We did a couple of other like workout classes together. We had, I think, 2 or 3 evenings where we went to, some of the restaurants on board and we, like shared a meal together. But then like during the day, we each did like our own like different activities and had that space that we both needed like for ourselves. And it was really cool. It was a confidence booster. And I really liked the mindset that like I approached this cruise with was, I went in with the mindset of, if I want to take my solo time, like I can take my solo time, but I was open to like meeting like other like-minded people, and that if I wanted to socialize, the opportunity would be there for me to be able to socialize, like if I wanted to, which was pretty cool. And honestly, at the end of the day, like for you, you should just live your best life. I'm not saying that's going as far out as, doing like a solo cruise, but, you know, live your life to like, to your extent. Like I'd rather live my life without regrets and the confidence of knowing that like I took chances. And this is how like we build confidence, is by taking those chances, pushing ourselves outside of that comfort zone just a little bit. So getting back like into the podcast, I want to give you some like constructive skills for how you can cultivate and build like that confidence like within you. And when I approach like confidence building, I like to think of it in 3 different categories: your mindset, taking action, and then your health and wellness. And I know a lot of people would maybe place mindset under health and wellness, but I wanted to break it up into its own group because there's so many like critical skills like underneath it, that you can take and act on like little bits like every single day that makes such a huge difference. And when we dive into it, mindset is the root of everything that you do. It's pretty crazy how foundational like your mindset is, and there's several categories that we could go into when it comes to your mindset. But for today's podcast, I wanted to start off with talking about positive self-talk. And self-talk is a topic in general that I want to do a focused podcast episode on in the future. We can talk for hours about, positive and negative self-talk, and like the skills that goes into like breaking some of those negative patterns and then building some of those positive like habits to kind of like reconstruct and rewire your mind to be more, to practice or to have more like optimism. But just for today's sake and for maintaining like the lengthiness of this episode, first off, to like understand, like self-talk is pretty much like your internal dialogue. It's how you talk to yourself is influenced by like your subconscious, and it ultimately reveals more like into your thoughts and beliefs, which can be both negative and positive. For today, I wanted just to highlight mostly on the positive self-talk, and how positive thinking and how self-talk and positive self-talk are effective tools for like stress management. It can improve like your overall health. And I want to emphasize like the crucialness of the skill, because there are so many health benefits that can come like from having like an increased optimism like in life. You can cope with challenges like better. You're better equipped to navigate like stressors that life throws at you. And if you tend to take more of like a pessimistic approach, that can really have like a negative effect on you. It's not very uplifting, and it kind of like beats yourself down, which is kind of like it. I mean, it really sucks. Like the world is already hard enough, like as is on you. And at the end of the day, like you're the one like that may feel like you're the one in the corner. Like you're the only one in the ring that's going to go to bat like for yourself. So like, why not take that time to cultivate like how to stand like for you, and like how to strengthen like your mind to have more of an optimistic approach. And like some examples of like how you can take some of like the pessimistic or some of the negative like self-talk and then flip into positive self-talk is like, let's say, like I'll disappoint everyone if I don't do X. Like just change around some of the words a little bit, build yourself up like with some of those comments. So instead of like, I'll disappoint like everyone, focus it more inward. Tell yourself like, like I'm proud of myself like for trying. Or another common one is like a lot of women are very self-critical about like their weight. So one phrase could be like, I'm overweight and I'm out of shape. I shouldn't even try. Now change it to like, I am strong and I'm capable, and I want to do this to become more confident and healthier. So those are just some small examples of like positive self-talk. and the impact that can have like on your mindset. Now it takes takes a lot of practice to like shift your inner dialogue to become like more encouraging and like uplifting. And if you catch yourself falling into like negative self-talk, like stop yourself and replace it with a positive and give yourself that positive affirmation and surround yourself with positive people. You have nothing to lose. There's absolutely no risk with talking positively to yourself and with practicing like those positive conversations. It may take time, but I promise like those benefits are worth it. Which leads me into practicing like self-acceptance. Now, this is a good one that ties like into gratitude, which I'll cover that here in just a moment. But self-acceptance is a pretty cool thing. It's exercising like grace. It's again just like focusing like inward and doing like those regular check-ins, like with yourself, with like how you feel, with your thoughts. Like for me, like I'm a pretty self-reflective person. Like I do regular check-ins where like I'll review my goals and like my vision board, future dreams, aspirations. Like I'll do that pretty regularly, like with myself, probably about like once a month, and definitely, do a longer session like the beginning of the year and maybe almost like every quarter. But I also perform like smaller, like daily and like weekly check-ins as well, like with myself, where I focus on aspects of like that week or even the day, and I exercise like self-compassion and grace if like I've made mistakes. And that ties back into some of the self-talk. So like if I, spoke to someone like in a harsh manner, that maybe like I wasn't like proud of like that day, then, like I'll think on it. And if I didn't catch myself earlier in the day, maybe I'll think on it like that night and, recognize it and acknowledge it, give myself a bit of grace, but, rectify like that mistake, either with that person like the next day and like apologize, like, hey, like, I'm sorry I spoke to you like in that tone, like it wasn't intended and I apologize, for the tone that I used yesterday. Or, for myself, like if I made a mistake, if I'm, talking about something and maybe made like a stupid comment, how sometimes like you can get like in your head and kind of ruminate on it like later on that day, kind of like catch myself instead of ruminating on it, just catch myself and exercise that grace and kind of quiet that rumination and just be like, okay, it's okay. Like, like he made that comment but going forward tomorrow's like a new day. It's a fresh start and work on, like I said, and with that assurance of, like that fresh start, an acknowledgement and acceptance of like who I am, like I'll add emphasis on like what I love about myself and acknowledge, the strengths that I have and some of the unique qualities that, like I bring like to the table. And that also like goes into like expressing gratitude, especially practicing like self-gratitude, going into like that self-reflection. Like I like to take a moment each day, and funny enough, I kind of like doing it more in the morning than in the evenings. I know for a lot of people it works well to do it in the evening, right before bed, to like pull out their journal and maybe write down like 3 or 5 things that they were grateful for that day. I like doing it in the morning, and maybe like while I'm like washing my face, or if I'm waiting for my coffee, or as I'm getting dressed, I'll focus on the things that like I am grateful for. I like to take the time and just recognize like the gratitude that I have like in my life, the gratitude for like being here today, for waking up, grateful for like how far I've come and for how much like I've grown like as a woman and into someone that like I love who I am today. Like, and I'm truly excited like for my future. I'll express gratitude, for like the opportunities that I have and the opportunities that I have coming to me. Practice, you can mix some of manifestation in with your gratitude practice. And like I said, like this can be expressed like spoken, like out loud, or you can write it down. But at the end of the day, this like helps you like shift your mindset, and it gives you a chance to like acknowledge like what you have and like your experience, and it gives you space to appreciate like your strengths and accomplishments And it also gives you opportunity to like put good energy into the universe, like towards yourself and others. So probably the most critical component of building like self-confidence is action. And similar to like how I kind of categorize like your mindset, going into action, I have several different items that you can use to be able to like build like action like within your life to be able to increase like your confidence. So the first part of like action is like practicing competence like within yourself. And that could be like taking the time to continuously like develop like some of those skills and like the knowledge that you already have. Take a little bit of time like each day to focus on that. And that can be something as simple as, maybe you learned an instrument a long time ago and you kind of let those skills kind of fall away. Maybe pick it up again and start practicing a little bit each day, or start a new skill and develop that. Another thing too could be like in your profession, take the time to like master and develop like more proficiency like within your profession. And as you master like those skills, you'll increase like your own like self assurance and then your confidence like over time. And similar to money, like time compounds that skill. And next is like setting goals for yourself and then honoring those goals. Like you can set it, but if you don't act on it, then what good is that going to be? It's a broken promise to yourself. And starting out, start with simple goals, such as like, I'm going to make my bed every day this week. If you have like a goal of wanting to become like more clean or creating like a more like energy friendly environment, you can set the goal of like, I'm going to read for 15 minutes a day, or I'm going to work out, for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. You can set like bigger goals, such as like enrolling in a class where you have money on the line, like you pay money to like enroll in this class, and the class could be something towards, your profession, or it could be something that you've always wanted to take. Try a new activity. It could also like another goal could be, like traveling to that bucket list place like you've always wanted to go. And kind of going back to like my intro, traveling can be, you can, sit around and wait for your friends that if they make promises that like, oh yeah, like I want to go and do that too, but they also don't act on them, maybe take that leap and, book that ticket, set it on the calendar. And regardless of whether or not, like they commit to it, you have committed to it. You've made that commitment like to yourself. And that's like the most critical component with like setting goals, is that you achieve them. You take the action and then you achieve it. And coming with action though, especially as like you're building like your confidence, you've got to step outside of your comfort zone. I know it's not comfortable. I'm probably a little bit like weird or a bit on the spectrum, like with where I actually enjoy like stepping outside of my comfort zone and kind of pushing myself like and my limits a bit. But like challenge yourself to like try new things. Step outside and like face your fears. And I'm not talking fears like Fear Factor style. I don't know if you've ever seen that show or remember that show. Go onto like YouTube and Google like Fear Factor, check it out. But for those who like haven't seen the show, they pretty much like take people and they put them in situations where they have no choice but to face a fear of like having like snakes poured all over them, or eating like really disgusting foods, or being underwater and having to escape from like a car that's submerged. Not those kind of fears. I'm not talking about that. Unless you kind of want to challenge yourself in that way. But I'm talking more fears that, kind of like what we've already discussed, of like if you're going solo to a restaurant or going to a bar like by yourself, take that solo trip. When you embrace like those experiences, like you really expand your comfort zone, and subsequently you're going to like boost your confidence. Another go-to action item that I like to take is, taking care of yourself, especially for like women. It's pretty crazy how far like just bits of self-care will go like for your overall like your mind and body and like spirit, like just your well-being like in general. Um and I truly believe that like how you look is a reflection of like how you feel about yourself. And so like some form of like self-care and pampering can go a long way. For those who don't have like much time or may not be even like leaving the house, like if you work from home or if you have kids, it can be as simple as like washing your face, putting on some tinted moisturizer or tinted sunscreen, I'm currently in love with Color Science right now. Their tinted sunscreens, absolutely amazing. Not endorsed at all, but I am in love with the convenience of that. Um, but going back could be, tinted moisturizer, putting on mascara, and then maybe a little bit of blush and bronze, and then that's it. It's simple. It takes maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but you took that time like for you and put yourself together like a little bit more. If you have more time, I love investing in appointments and those things that help me feel better about myself. That will also compound and save me time like during the week. So some of my favorite like go-tos are like getting my nails done. I choose a soft pink or do a French tip. I'll have my nails initially cut slightly shorter, especially with the French tip. That way, then like when my nails grow out, the manicure tends to last longer. I can go probably about 4 or 5 weeks in between my appointments, which I absolutely don't enjoy getting the process of getting my nails done, but I love the result of having my nails done, especially when it lasts like about a month. And I really, really enjoy having them looking just polished and professional, especially because I'm a pretty expressive person, like with my hands. And so it's something that people see a lot, where I'm pointing at like different papers and pointing at things like for work. So I like having that aspect of me like put together and have that polished like look. Other items are like regular hair appointments. So every like 6 to 8 weeks, I love to go in and just get my hair like touched up and like trimmed and just have it taken care of. I like getting my eyebrows tinted. That way, then during the week, like I don't have to get them, I don't have to fill them like myself. I don't have to take that time to fill in after having them shaped. Especially being blonde, I need to go a little bit darker, like with my eyebrows, but taking that time to go and get them tinted saves me some time, like while I'm getting ready during the week. And I also feel more comfortable when they're shaped and put together with my makeup routine. And another one is also like having a good spray tan. I love having a spray tan because it saves me so much time on my skincare routine, like during the week. I literally will do my skincare routine, or I meant not my skincare routine, my makeup routine. So I will literally do my skincare routine and then start my makeup routine, which after a spray tan, I'll literally just like apply mascara and pretty much be done with it. So I say all that just to like encourage you to like find those things that like give you that confidence boost. And then it's even more of a bonus if it saves you time by putting in that initial investment. And like I said, like this list may look different for like each of you. This list may look different for each of you, and that is perfectly okay. What works for me may not necessarily like work for you. You may want to do more, you may want to do less. It's completely customizable, but at the end of the day, just like do what's best for you. What's going to help you feel confident, and experiment with a couple of different things and like find what works for you. So the last category that I have is health and wellness. And this one's going to be a little bit like brief because again, I want to expand on especially health and wellness more like as we continue on like with this podcast. But for today's sake, I wanted to talk about kind of just going to the cliche saying of health is wealth. Like it truly is like such an accurate statement. Like health truly is wealth because you can't do much of anything if your health is non-existent. I learned that lesson a couple of times like throughout my life, but the hardest one was when I caught COVID back in like 2021. It pretty much like almost killed me. No exaggeration. It put me in and out of the hospital, and it took me over a year to recover from the after effects of like having it. And it was pretty eye opening to see because like have always been like a pretty healthy and extremely active person, even prior to having COVID. And it took me to my knees. Like COVID really just, it was so eye opening. I was like bedridden. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even get up to like go to the restroom. Like I had to have help. And even like after having help to like move, maybe like 15, like 20 feet, I had to recover for like several hours afterwards. Like I absolutely had no energy. Breathing was difficult, and like I just didn't even have like the energy to care. Like it was so bad. Like I had never been sick like that before. like in my life. But like coming out of that experience, it just truly hit home just even more of like how golden your health like really is. And without it, like you have nothing. So like how this ties back into like building confidence for your health and wellness, I just want to emphasize like how important it is to prioritize like your physical and your well-being. Exercise, like a little goes a long way. Like start small, establish a routine, start out for like a couple days a week. Like it's really cool. Like I was talking with like my sister, and she started to take more of like an active approach, or wanting to take more of an active approach like in her life. And she told me a couple days ago, she's like, yeah, like I started walking. Like I wanted to start walking for maybe like 15-20 minutes a day, because I don't want to have negative health effects like in my future, which is really cool to see like kind of like her mindset shift, and then the maturity that comes with wanting to take ownership like for like her confidence, and to like start taking better care of herself. And the important thing with that is, trying like different things and like find something you love. So for her, like she's really enjoying like walking. For me, like I'm absolutely love like doing Pilates and doing like high incline walking. That may not be your thing. Yours could be maybe doing a spin class, or going out for a run, or doing CrossFit or yoga. Just find something, and something that you love, and you can start cultivating like that habit like in your life. Tying into like physical activity, eating a balanced diet is also key. Like food is your energy, and like the older I get, the more like I'm starting to understand how nutrition like affects me, and just like how crucial it is to my overall well-being. And overall, like I've eaten fairly healthy like the majority of my life, but I feel like as I've gotten older, and as I've been more proactive with being in tune with myself, I'm starting to understand more of like what foods work for me and what foods like don't work. The last topic I wanted to touch on was sleep. I feel like sleep is another one of those things that are incredibly underrated, especially when you're younger. As I've grown older, I'm finding like I need my sleep. Like I've noticed that when I don't get enough sleep, I tend to get sick a little bit more often, or it's harder for me to like control like my mindset, tend to be a little bit more like pessimistic. But when I get more sleep, when I prioritize it, I get sick less often. I have more energy. I have an easier time like maintaining like my weight, and it does wonders like for my mental health. So especially for this year, I'm decided to focus on building like a very healthy like nighttime like routine, and increasing like just like my sleep health. Really want to focus on that more to improve like the quality of my sleep, just because the benefits that you get from it are so underrated, and I don't really think they're like talked about enough. But it's absolutely crucial for you like all around, especially for the mental health aspects. um so having a healthy lifestyle that encompasses like exercise, diet, and sleep, it's going to help you with building a more positive like self-image, and it all ties back into like your mindset. So thank you for listening like today. I gave you a lot of information and just hit some of these wave tops of some of these topics, but I just want to emphasize that like there's so many different ways that you can start today to build your self-confidence. And I hope that some of the topics I talked about today gives you an idea of where you can start focusing some of your time and effort to start, or to hopefully continue like that journey for you. Continue to be patient with yourself, and then recognize that like self-assurance and building confidence is a journey, and it's a very individual and a very personalized journey. But I promise you that like it's so worth it through like consistency, like in your mindset, taking action, and then focusing like on your health and wellness. You will gradually enhance your confidence and ultimately live like a more empowered life. And I want that for you. It's been a journey that I've been on for several years, especially like after my divorce, which my divorce left me pretty much like a shell and like a wreck afterwards. And it took me several years to like build, the woman that I am today. But I promise you that having that more empowered life and the confidence that comes with it has been so worth it. It's been worth every bit of like discomfort and even some of the pain like along the way. And so I just want to encourage you to, pick one or two of these items that we talked about today and focus on that, like so little bits at a time, and will compound into like bigger results. So thank you for letting me be a part of that journey today. And until next time.